What's good, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to, I guess, a bit of an injury update really on how things are going and how I've got into this position that I'm in at the minute. So those of you that tune in regularly may have seen the video from my last upload where we had a trip down to Dyfi Bike Park in Wales. Now, the idea for that entire weekend was a day of riding on the Saturday at the bike park, and then what I was going to do on the Sunday was head just a little bit north into Snowdonia and do a early morning descent of Snowdon. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I kind of got carried away on the Saturday at Dyfi Bike Park. Things got a bit daft and ultimately I made mistakes, and that's led me to being in the sling, as you can see. So for those of you that do watch regularly, you'll have seen the video. Those that don't, I'll pop it just above or a shortened clip of it, and I'll stick it just now.
Oh shit! Oh. Oh shit! Oh.
So yeah, that's what kind of went wrong, and to be honest, the entire thing was my error from start to finish. It was rider error. The first time I'd hit the jump, I hit it really well. It felt absolutely perfect. So I ended up going back round for another go, and it was on that second go that I kind of got caught in two minds as to what I was doing, because what I wanted to try and do was just add a little bit of style to the jump. I felt like I'd got plenty of air time, and I thought, well, with all this air time, it's worth trying to add a little bit of style. But as soon as I was coming into the run up, I knew I was caught in two minds, and in the end, I completely forgot everything about body positioning and all the rest of it. All the sort of what I should be doing went completely out the window, and that's how I've ended up as I am now. So I'm now 3 weeks off the bike, coming up to my 4th week off the bike, and the sling is because what I did was I broke my elbow, but I've broke it in, it's called a non-displaced fracture. So basically, I've not got the x-rays, unfortunately, but it's a fragment of bone, probably about the size of the end of my thumb. That's come away from the elbow itself, and it's just kind of floating around in midair. So now I've got to wait about 6 weeks, they reckon, before I can get back on the bike. It's sore, it's irritating, it's uncomfortable. Like, it's an absolute nightmare to try and get changed and things on my own. I've just got to the stage now where I can just about start to feed myself with that arm, but I can't pick up any weight. I certainly can't grip the bars or anything like that, and it's just a bit of a chew on, to be honest. But what I'd also done at the time, they think, is broken 2, potentially 3 ribs. So what I had at the time was a lot of bruising right the way across my breastplate at the top, and it was at the time it wasn't bad, but as the days progressed, it got darker, more purple, and it just looked really aggressive, to be honest. It was quite horrible, but it wasn't too sore to press the actual bruising itself. But it wasn't till I was sort of breathing heavily, you know how every so often you'll take like a big deep breath, that absolutely killed. Any time that I was sort of coughing was excruciating, and sneezing was the absolute worst. Sneezing was just shooting pain right the way across. But that sort of subsided after a couple of weeks, and it's still painful to touch in places, but nowhere near what it was. The elbow, I've now been for 2 x-rays on that one. So initially, when I'd done the break, I was down in Wales, obviously. I managed to get myself home absolutely fine. Fortunately, Caleb, one of the lads, was coming home too, so he followed us back just to make sure I got back in one piece. But I didn't go for it x-rayed until 2 days later, because at the time I thought it was just very sore, and I just had a lot of sort of a lack of movement in that arm, so I kind of played it off, to be honest. But it was on the Monday, 2 days later, I thought, right, I'm gonna have to go and get this checked out. So sure enough, when I went and got it x-rayed, they were like, yeah, you've got a break in your elbow, and they've put me in this thing, this lovely attractive sling. and told me just to wear that as much as I can. But what I'm trying to do at the minute is get some mobility and some movement in it. So I am taking the sling off periodically and trying to do some sort of light movements. Fortunately, we've got a hot tub in the garden, so what I've been doing as well is on a night time just sort of doing some resistance moving under the water, just to try to keep some strength, because what I don't want to do is lose all my strength and all my movement, and then when I come to start riding the bike again, I don't want it to feel completely alien. So I'm trying to do as much as I can with my arm without pushing myself too hard, because ultimately I don't want to slow the recovery or put myself back by doing any further damage. So I want to be back on the bike as soon as possible. I want to be back riding, not only for my own fitness, but my mental health as well. Riding the bike for me is so much more than just getting out on the bike. It's a nice release. It's a way to get away from the stresses and strains of life. Just a good way of checking out, and I miss it. Like I say, it's coming up to about 4 weeks now. So yeah, it's feeling like a long time, but I've had a lot of care and attention. You know, people are looking after me. The missus is doing a great job of making sure that I've got everything I need and helping the recovery as much as possible. The bike, I've no idea what state that's in, if I'm completely honest. It was an absolute struggle to get it back in the van when I was at Dyfi Bike Park. It was a struggle to get it out the van at this end. And ever since then, it's just been a case of out of sight, out of mind. So hopefully in the next couple of days, I'm going to get it out the lockup, wash it down and take a look, make sure that there's nothing damaged on there. But I think it should be all right. I mean, once anyone that knows Dyfi Bike Park, it was the old train line where I'd done where I'd come off, if you will. So it's not too far from the old train line jump down to the car park, and I managed to just about ride the bike one-handed from there to the bottom. And it seemed fine. Everything was spinning as it should do. There wasn't any sort of expensive sounding noises. So touch wood, I've got away with it, but it's at the moment it's completely manky, it's slutched up, it's full of dirt, full of grime, so I can't see if there is any damage to it. But touch wood, fingers crossed, it's still in one piece. But yeah, hopefully I'm gonna try and get back on the bike at some point in the next sort of 7 to 10 days, but it's just gonna be a case of getting some mileage in, to be honest, and trying to maintain a decent level of fitness. So it's going to be back on the bike, but it's going to be riding on the roads, on the flat paths, and just trying to get some grip strength back and just trying to get some sort of movement in the entire arm. Because like I say, what I don't want to do is rush back too soon, throw myself down some sort of off-piste track and the roots and the rocks, the vibrations sort of jar anything. But I am booked in for another x-ray on the 15th of December, so that's just over 2 weeks away now. So hopefully once I go back and have this next x-ray done, they're going to tell me everything's healing as it should do, everything's looking as it should do, and hopefully they're going to start me on some physio as well, just so that I can start getting back into things a little bit more. But like I say, I have, rightly or wrongly, I don't know, been doing my own little bits of physio, just trying to do a bit of resistance training, keeping it moving. Just, I don't want it seizing up, so I'm not pushing myself too hard. I am trying to gently introduce movements back into my daily routine, if you will, and just doing little bits and pieces. But all the bruising's now gone from my ribs and my chest. There's nothing hurting on there. I've still got a little bit of soreness across my back, but I think, to be honest, I think I've got knots. Something as simple as that, just knots across the top of my back, ultimately from wearing this and having that dead weight hanging on the back. And also obviously with having to do most things with my left hand, I feel like I've probably been compensating for that. So my body's just one big knot at the moment. So again, probably in the next few days, what I'm probably going to do is line up a couple of sports massages or something maybe a little bit gentler, just to sort of, again, loosen everything up and try and get some mobility. And that way what I can do as well is introduce a bit of yoga and just try and free the body up, so that once I am back on a bike, I'm not stiff, I'm not riding too rigid, and I've got that freedom back. So yeah, that's kind of the journey at the moment. That's where things are at. Healing well, but I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone on the channel, or the people on the channel that have reached out and asked how I'm doing, how I'm getting on. I really appreciate it. You know, the kindness of strangers has been something else, to be honest. It's been nice. So appreciate that. Appreciate you all checking in. Hopefully, like I say, by 15th of December, I'll have a clearer idea. But me personally, I'm pushing to be on the bike a little bit sooner than that, just to get some fitness. You know, I want to be at the start of January primed and ready to be riding trails. That's what I've got in my head to kind of to keep me motivated, because that's how I work. I need an end goal. I need some sort of finish line to be able to fixate on, just to keep me going, just to spur myself along. So 1st of January, that's when I'm hoping to be back on a proper trail, which gives me another 5 weeks off, which will be about 8 to 9 weeks in total, which, saying it like that, sounds absolutely disgusting, but here ho. It could have been a lot worse. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see how I landed, or what I landed on, or sort of how I ragdolled. But yeah, it was quite a speed and quite a height, so realistically it could have been a lot worse. I was a little bit surprised, if I'm honest, that I did do my elbow in, because I did have elbow pads on, the Troy Lee Designs elbow pads, which are these ones. So yeah, I don't always wear elbow pads, I'll be honest. It's not something I usually wear, but for whatever reason on the day I thought I'll put my elbow pads on. So it could have been an awful lot worse had I not had them on. But when I did eventually sort of dust myself off and catch my breath, because I was pretty winded, pretty shocked, and just trying to catch my breath, and I could feel the adrenaline pumping. Everything ached. It felt like a little bit of whiplash, to be honest. I stood straight up after the crash. I managed to jump straight up back onto my feet, but it really just felt as though I'd been in a car crash. The back of my neck was aching, all across the top of my shoulders was aching, and it just felt like a dull ache pain. It was horrible, to be honest. So yeah, I've probably got off pretty lightly, all things considered. It's definitely not deterred me from wanting to get back on the bike. Like everyone that I've spoke to, or people that don't ride, that's probably a better way of putting it. People that don't ride have been like, "You're mad if you're going to get back on. Like, are you going to give it up now?" And no, like absolutely not. Like I'm itching to get back on, and it's my escape. And to be honest, I absolutely love it. So yeah, I'm chomping at the bit to get back on the bike. But like I say, probably another 4 to 5 weeks from that, realistically. But like I say, I just want to say a massive thanks to everyone that's supported the channel while this has been going on. I know that the content's dried up a little bit, but this is why. And two, the people that have reached out, I really appreciate you reaching out. Strangers, friends, family. It's been nice to have that support. So I'm back in Sunderland Hospital, and I'm here for a couple of x-rays just to check how things are going. We're now the 3rd week in December, and just time to basically check up on things and make sure the bone's healing as it should be. I've got a lot more movement in the elbow than I did have. I still can't fully... that's about as far as I can get, so I still can't fully straighten it, but I've got the rotation and stuff back. So yeah, they've just took another 3 x-rays of the bone just to check that it's knitting back together and how it should be, but it was right on the actual elbow itself. So now kind of just waiting around and kicking about to see what the doctor makes of those 3 x-rays, and then we'll go from there. But I'm hoping it's good news. I'm really ready to be back on the bike now. It's a bit of torture, 7 weeks off the bike. But yeah, fingers crossed for some good news. Keep posted. So back home and the bearer of some good news, which I'm over the moon about. So doctor's pretty chuffed with how things are sort of progressing and how the hand's healing. He was actually blown away a little bit that I can actually get full rotation. I can't remember what he called it now, but the full rotation of that. He didn't expect me to be able to do that, which is good. He's pretty happy with the sort of strength that's in there and the fact that I can't straighten it all the way. He said that's pretty normal, it'll come. And ultimately just to keep doing sort of exercises where there's weight in that hand, and it's going to sort of pull the tendons and pull at the muscles, if you will, just to sort of stretch them back out. I did ask him if I can get back on a bike. He said absolutely, but he did say if you fall and hit the elbow, it's going to be pretty catastrophic, so not to do that. So what I'm going to do, I did ask about vibrations as well, obviously the bike bouncing up and down over the trails and such, and he said absolutely no issue with that. He said if it's comfortable, just watch what you're doing. So fingers crossed, all the patina lads are doing their Christmas ride this weekend, so hopefully I'm going to see how the next few days sort of pan out with those exercises, and see, just making sure that there's no pain or twinging. But all being well, I should be out for the Christmas ride with the patina lads, which will be nice. But I'll be taking it easy, to say the least, and just doing the sort of mild trail centre stuff. But just a relief to be able to be told that, yeah, you can get back on the bike, because what I didn't want to do personally was get back on it too soon and give myself any sort of setback. Because of where it is, obviously it is prone to a lot of vibration, it's prone to a lot of movement and such as well, so I was pretty cautious. 38 now, so I'm no spring chicken. I don't want to do any long-term damage, so nice to get the all clear. And yeah, honestly, just absolutely buzzing to be able to get back on the bike. It's I love riding my bike, but a lot of it for me, it's mental health. It's having the clarity to get out there, and my job as a designer, I'm sat behind a screen all day, so there's so many pros to riding my bike for me, as well as the enjoyment that it brings. There's so many pros outside of that. So yeah, it's just really nice and really reassuring to get the green light and to be out. So like I say, fingers crossed, all being well, over the next 3 or 4 days. I should be out on the weekend of the 19th of December, I think it is. So stay tuned and we'll see how that goes. But hope you've all enjoyed the update and taken something from it. Thank you to everyone that's sort of reached out, both here on YouTube and on Instagram. I appreciate the kind words, and it's nice to chat to a lot of people that have been in the same sort of position. So thanks very much, and hopefully see you on the trails very soon indeed. Take it easy.